Testing. Blah, 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 blah.
Ready, set, go.
It's time for the Coach Amy and Coach Liz show.
A podcast for endurance athletes by two athletes, two coaches, and a physical therapist.
We are your hosts, Coach Amy
And Coach Liz.
coming to you from
Kansas City.
Okay, Liz, we both agreed that today is one of those days where you're like, what's a good word to describe it? I don't know. This is what it sounds like.
I feel like it's like a workout. That's how we have like an extended warm-up period. It's taking you a while to warm up. You like kind of haven't found your voice yet. Like you haven't found your legs yet.
Yeah, you haven't found your legs yet. And do you think it's the time change?
I blame everything on the time change.
Do you know what happened to me on the time change this time? Okay, so the time changeover is on Sunday. But the Friday morning before that, my body clock, I woke up and I looked at because my alarm didn't wake me up, and I looked at the clock and it said 4:30. I normally get up at 5:30. That's when my alarm goes off every morning. It was 4:30 and I was like, oh, hell yes, I am getting up and I'm doing the day. The time change has occurred now because it was no work, no effort, and I felt great.
Whoa.
And so that's what I did.
Well, good.
So last Friday and Saturday, I had already switched the time.
That is interesting. I feel like I did that late, like Saturday evening instead of Sunday morning. And I feel like it did, because it makes me so sad to lose an hour.
I know. It hurts our psyches and physically. I mean, there's a ton of evidence to show about, especially if you are like in the medical field and stuff, it's affecting, well, and it just raises all of our stress levels and cortisol but there's all kinds of scientific evidence to show that it really screws up with us, but we will adjust.
I mean, I like getting an extra hour when we fall back.
Right.
It still messes me up.
And I love the sunlight change.
Yeah.
From the spring forward. So it's a trade-off.
I feel like there's all sorts of clamoring out there about this. There's just so much other shit going on. I can't get that worked up about it, but it's like your house is on fire and you're worried about your tulip dying is how that feels,
Right. But it's all relative. So I'd rather focus on this issue than other worse issues. Right. So, just let's bottle up the other stuff in a healthy way.
That's great. Healthy advice from our show.
But we're not psychologists, so. Okay, go for a run. That's my solution.
Yeah.
We are going to talk today about kicking with or without a board when you are working on your swimming. So tell us what we need to know.
I get this question a lot, so I thought I would just make a few pointers. So people who are familiar with swimming know that you sometimes isolate and just kick to really, for triathletes, I use that more to improve like kick technique than necessarily leg strength. For swimmers, they're using it to improve leg strength, among other things. But
and when you say swimmers, you're meaning people that are training to actually do swim races,
right?
Versus a triathlete.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's advantages and disadvantages to using a kickboard when you are isolating your kick. So if you don't use a kickboard, that means that your face is in the water. If you don't have a snorkel, it means it's inconvenient to try to come up and breathe. But conversely, if you use a kickboard, anyway, enough. Let's just get into it. Okay, so talk about needing a warm up today. Okay, so if you're kicking and you're not using a board, which is often what I advocate for triathletes, mainly because when you're not using a board, you are in a position that we are trying to solidify for your swim, meaning that you're pressing your chest down in the water in order to kick, versus with a kickboard where you are the polar opposite. Your chest is up, you're holding onto a board, and it makes your feet sink. So when you don't use a board, you're able to practice the position that you actually use to swim in. It also allows for working on the timing of the hips and the legs in a slightly different way than when you're using a board, which is really like one of the most important things really for the kick for anybody, but especially it's one of the most important things that triathletes have trouble with that they really need to work on is the timing of the legs and the hips, which I feel like you can do that better when you're not using a board. You can also kick with when you're not using a board. You can practice kicking on your stomach, on both your sides and on your back, which allows you to then really expand your ability to find your body balance in the water. Body balance is a fancy way of just saying you're not sinking. And so people struggle with sinking legs. And the counterbalance to that is being able to balance properly in the water, having body balance. And that comes from using your chest and your upper body as a counterweight to your legs. And so when you're not kicking with a board, you can work on that much better. And you have a much more robust ability to not sink or find your balance if you're able to do that in any position in the water, not just on your stomach. Your body just is then able to find that balance much more adeptly. So, those are the primary positives to doing it without a board. Now, kicking with a board, a lot of people, it exposes the kick more when you're kicking with a board. A lot of people will say, like, I go backwards, right? And the board provides more resistance because of you've got something in front of you that you're pushing. You also are in a position that's less aerodynamic. So you're getting more resistance against the kick that's trying to propel you forward. So it is harder. It's naturally a bit harder, but it will also give you some information about your forward propulsion and whether it's there or not. If you can't move forward with a kickboard, it gives you a lot of information about what's happening with your kick when you're swimming.
Okay.
Right? And
so it's a good test tool.
It gives you information.
Yeah.
It gives you information for sure. The thing about kicking with a board is that you then have oxygen available and you can really focus on trying to, you can do some longer sustained sets with that. It is also, you can do some very hard kicking sets, which improves the strength of the kick. And the reason that is important is not because triathletes are then going to start propelling their swim with their kick, but because when you have a stronger kick, you have the ability to control that kick a little better. And then when you put it in your stroke, you have the ability to sort of maneuver between like an easy kick and a hard kick. And you have more control over what you are doing with your legs, which allows you to coordinate correctly. You have better motor skill control, really, right? And so that strengthening of the kick is something that you need to work on just so that you can control it better, even if you're not using it to propel your stroke. So yeah, I mean, that is something, even if you're, you can work on your kick in different ways. You can either work on just strengthening the actual kick that you already have. You sometimes need to also work on just getting a kick that's functional. That is also where fins can come in helpful because fins will put your feet in a position that is better for kicking. It's gonna prevent some of that flexing of the foot that you see where people are trying to do a frog kick. And you can do that with or without a kickboard, but that is something that can really help develop a proper technique for the kick. And then if you're doing harder sets with those fins, with or without a board, it's going to continue to develop the ability for you to manage that movement better. A third way that people aren't super familiar with, and you have to have a deep pool to do it, but is vertical kicking, where you are up and down in the water. So it's like you're standing in the water. You need a deep end to do it. That is one of the most effective ways to improve your kick. So you're
trying to vertically bring yourself up like a bobber? Is that what you're doing?
Yes. Okay. And so you need to be able, if you have a functional kick, you can keep your head above water. If you don't, you're going to sink.
Wow, yeah. And so you're not doing treading water. You're talking about that kick.
You're talking about doing a freestyle kick, and it gives you a lot of information about what sort of movement you're getting with your kick. Or if it's gonna, if it's interrupting your stroke. As I always say, that the kick for triathlon isn't gonna make your stroke, but it'll break your stroke. So you do need a functional kick.
Yeah. I have a question about this and a little thing to say, because there's some people who have specific back issues, and when they kickboard, it makes them worse. And when they're coming into me and they're talking about using the kickboard and they've got this back pain, I just say, if you cannot hold the core in such a way, and have your core strength and abdominal strength that you can kind of counteract that force, and it hurts your back, we just take it out. Because like you said, it's refining a kick, it's finding issues with your kick, but it's not worth sacrificing your back for. So Yeah, just a little plug in there. It shouldn't hurt your back when you're doing the kickboard.
No.
Thanks so much for listening. And remember,
We are in this together.
Until next time.